Hey guys, this is Adam Carswell, and today I'm joined by James Bowling. James is the owner of Castle Pointe Building Solutions. Just like myself, he was born and raised in Painesville, Ohio, went to college at Notre Dame College in South Euclid, where he also played football. And James now lives in Fairview Park, Ohio, the West Side. Great to have him here on the show. We're going to have a awesome conversation. I can't wait to share this one with you guys. But before that, just want to flip it over to James real quick. James, thanks for coming on Dream Chasers. Any opening remarks for our listeners today?
Yeah, absolutely. Appreciate you having me, Adam. Excited to reconnect and see where this takes us.
Absolutely. So I don't even know exactly where to begin, guys, but my dad was friends with James on Facebook. And I apologize because I don't know how I wasn't friends with James on Facebook before this. Um, but James posted a video. My dad sent it to me. He's like, "Hey, Adam," and my dad doesn't do this very often either. He's like, "You should consider having James on Dream Chasers." I'm like, "What?" Like, James is is an entrepreneur doing this thing. And so the cool thing about this, guys, is we went to kindergarten together. Good old State Street. And I told James when we had just a catch up call a couple weeks ago, I was like, I don't know if you remember this, but so our teacher, Mrs. Wilcoxon, and I can't remember exactly how she did it, but basically when it was your birthday, the whole class would like celebrate. And then since it's your birthday, you get to either the whole class, I don't know if it was like the whole class got cupcakes or you got cupcakes, but the main thing is like you had to pick someone to either distribute the cupcakes or share the birthday gift with you. And I don't know why, but I just remember like I picked James as like my partner, either to like share birthday cupcakes with or to help me like give to the class. It was one of those two things. I just never forget that. And so as you if you want to chime in here on that one, James, go ahead.
That was a long time ago. I remember very little, but I know she was always doing fun little things that keep people, you know, engaged. So
Yep. Yep. And it's funny. We won't drop any names, but we were both talking about like the one like cute it's just funny thinking back to like grade five, age five, but like the cute girl in our class. And he was like, "Hey Adam, do you remember this girl?" I'm like, "Oh yeah, I remember her." Like
it
everyone
was
in
the crush, the class crush for sure.
class crush. She had it
Yeah.
going. So that's funny. But so yeah, guys, we've known each other for a long time. We were talking about like playing sports when we were little too, just being in Painesville City schools, like you see the same kids all the time. And so I was asking James, I was like, "Did you play little league?" Because I was like, I don't remember. I know James was playing football and probably maybe basketball, but I was like, I don't remember little league. And he was like, "Yeah, you played
Yeah,
one year."
I gave baseball a try for sure, a one and only try. I was no good at it. I was a little kid. I was all hurt about in my feelings. I switched to track and basketball and football, but yeah, definitely remember the baseball days too.
But the baseball days was cool because for a little bit, for at least one year of your life, you got to rub shoulders with the big man, Jeff Spikes, who's a pretty popular name in Painesville. I think he went on to
Yeah,
play offensive line at Kansas, and
Kansas. Yeah.
then I don't know, maybe in the NFL for a little bit.
Yeah,
Um,
I think he got his shot, but he was definitely a stud at Kansas. I mean, I remember their coach saying that he was one of the best linemen that's ever been there. And what's crazy about him too is he didn't even play football, I think, till maybe his junior year or in senior year. Coach Culliver, our head coach, he persuaded him to come out and said there's a future, and he came out and dominated. I mean, the dude is humongous.
yeah,
Good
it's
guy too. He's still doing well. He's got a good spirit.
awesome. Yeah, shout out to Jeff if you see this. What's up, man?
Mhm.
I
So,
remember I was telling James. I remember when I don't know, you were a couple years older than us, so I just remember probably at age 9 coming up to bat, and there's just massive kid on the mound like throwing speed at me. I was just like, "There's no way I'm hitting this." Um, but yeah, and then actually we'll give a quick shout out to Jimmy Lyons. I don't know if you remember Jim Lyons.
yeah,
That was
basketball
like
team.
Jimmy was like definitely one of my best friends growing up, and I'll never forget playing little league. He was the first person I ever got a hit off of, right up the middle. There you go.
Very good at all.
um, good family over there too. So speaking, let's just keep it on the Painesville topic here real quick too. Athletics, I know. So you played football in college, which is awesome. Want to hear a little bit about that. But then also throughout high school, you were at Harvey. I couldn't remember if you did run track or play basketball. I think you said you did. So I guess
Yep.
just give us a couple athletic memories from Harvey, and maybe drop a few names of people that are coming to mind.
Yeah, the good old Red Raiders. So I was a 4-year athlete for football and track in high school. I played basketball my freshman year with Coach Coffey. We had a pretty good squad, and we actually went undefeated and won the championship. And then I went on, ran track, and I just like fell in love with track and Coach Yoakum and kind of the structure that they had there. And so I decided to just focus on track and football. So I put basketball aside, and I would do indoor track during the winter. But yeah, football there. I mean, the program is turning around. Actually, I don't know if you remember Mick Mockner.
Oh yeah,
He was
I got a
a
story.
3-year starting quarterback there, and he was a stud. He went to play at Wayne State, but he actually came back, and now he's the head coach there, and he's actually building the program up, bigger and better, and that's exciting to see for sure, just for the whole community in general. Because football, there's nothing like a good football team to cheer for. And then played track all throughout. Loved track. We always had a really good track team, and I contributed here and there with the 4x4 and 4x8 and the hurdles a little bit.
Okay.
But we just had such a tough district, man. I think because only top 4 go, and our top 4 in our district was always like top 5 or 6 in the state. So
Right.
that's where
Yeah.
I didn't go for the 4x8 necessarily. That was my bread and butter. And then that will always haunt me for the rest of my life, without a doubt. Because we would have placed like 5th or 6th in states with the same time we ran, but only top 4 get to go, and it's just the nature of the beast.
Yep. No, that's definitely shout out to Coach Yoakum. And so there's a little bit, I don't know if I shared this with you before either, James, but one thing that I wouldn't call it a regret, but I feel like a piece of me as a Painesvillian that was always kind of missing was, so I was in Painesville City schools up until 5th grade. And then moving forward, I was in private school. So I knew everyone in the neighborhood. I played sports, but like, for example, James is talking about competing throughout high school. We never really got to see each other that much during that time. So it's cool to hear these things, because I do know who you're talking about. And I think of Mickey Mockner, who was another just complete savage in the Little League days. And that was another, I think my dad was like, Adam, if you get a hit off Mickey, then I'll buy you Taco Bell or something after the game. And like, no one could get a hit off Mickey. And I still don't even know, like, I hope you see this too, Mickey. I just remember like pretty much just sticking my bat out. I didn't even like follow through on my swing, and again, like poked it up the middle, got a double off of him. And then someone else on that team who had an arm who was underrated was Cody Biddle. I don't remember Cody Biddle, but yeah, I think Cody went to Riverside. But Cody, if you ever see this too, I remember you could throw hard too, man. So Little League days. Let's see. Oh, and then I guess last, before we hop into the next level chamber and get to the focus of our conversation here today, James, got to give a quick what I always ask for you to give a shout out to someone at the end. So I hope this doesn't ruin it, but quick shout out to your buddy, Chris Fields, who's also a name from Painesville, who went on to do pretty big things after leaving the city.
Yeah, Chris he's still a really good friend of mine. I'm excited for him and what he's getting involved with. But yeah, he's down in Columbus, played football down there at Ohio State, and just kept the ball rolling down there. I mean, he definitely has a big influence and network down there. He's been doing ever since this pandemic, basically, a company called Mask Essential. And, they have high quality masks that they do for the Ohio State football team, I'm pretty sure. He does them customizable for different companies, and just like day to day for, common people. He has different colors and stuff like that for people that, are trying to be fashionable with their masks that are required. But yeah, Chris is a great guy, still stays after it. And he's doing his thing.
Love it. Shout out to his little brother too, Jalen. You the man,
Mhm.
Jalen. I probably got to spend more time with Jalen because him and my younger brother Paul were on the same. I think it was maybe it was Little League All Stars or something. They're
Okay.
always hanging out. So, all right, guys, it is now time to step into the next level chamber. The topic of today's discussion is kindergarten to kingdom come. And I love that title. I was playing around with it before, and James kind of helped me refine it. And, I look at us knowing each other for so long and, being friends in kindergarten to where we're at now. And I think we're both just, we're loving life. We're doing what we would consider big things and just trying to make as big of an impact on our networks and the world around us as we can. And so from
Mhm.
kindergarten to kingdom come, here we are. And I want to dive into what James is doing, what he's working on at Castle Pointe Building Solutions, a new venture for him. And then James, maybe we could even talk a little bit about your real estate background too. But just to open it up, what is Castle Pointe Building Solutions? Tell our listeners a little bit about what you're working on.
Yeah, so Castle Point Building Solutions is it's a one-stop shop for all your building maintenance needs. When it comes to commercial cleaning, floor and carpet care, window cleaning, things in that nature, construction cleanup. It's just a one-stop shop for anything that is maintenance related to a brick and mortar building, whether it's a retail office, a church, a gym, a dentist office, things in that nature. Really, basically anything but residential we focus on, and that's what it is. I do want to give a shout out to my mother, Ruth. She actually started the castle cleaning back in 1996, and that was always she always was all in on that. And when I was in high school, actually, so probably about 2006 or seven, she started significantly cutting back because she started going to school studying social work, which has always been a dream and passion of hers, working with chemically dependent individuals. So she, followed her dream in that. She had a few good accounts that she just kept, that I would always help with, like throughout my college years and after. And then, she, full blown got her master's, and she is a full blown social worker now. And back in September, so a little bit over a year ago now, 2019, she and my stepfather moved down to Dayton to be closer to the family down there and the grandkids. And she presented me with the idea of wanting to take over the company. And that's something I always had been interested in, and I just dove all in. I threw myself in the fire because I did have a full-time job at that point, working at an outsourced HR company. And I just dove all in. And so it was called Castle Cleaning. And I've kind of rebranded it a little bit to Castle Point just because I want to be a little bit more versatile and not focus specifically on cleaning. I have ideas for property management and things like that in the future. But yeah, she paved the way, and I essentially took the baton and trying to make the most of it now.
Yeah, and I want to dive into what it's been like for you as a business owner, just going through the process of the transition, especially during this time. Like, there's so many lessons to be learned for someone who's looking to go all in on their entrepreneurial ideas too, that I think they can learn from you. But before that, you do kind of have a little secret weapon here too. You've got some real estate experience and background too. You're actually licensed as a realtor in Ohio, which I'm sure is a nice, thing to have on the side. So could you talk
Yeah.
a little bit about that too?
Yeah, back in 2015 or 2016, I got my real estate license. I was a couple years out of college. I was bartending, and I've always been super interested in real estate. My uncle down in Dayton, he has a significantly big real estate portfolio. So I'd always be around him, kind of hearing him talk on the phone and just make decisions and stuff. And it always really intrigued me. So I decided to get my real estate license, and I was doing it a little bit on the side, more so on the weekends, but I was also bartending. And my first stint in it was with, I was doing foreclosures, so HUD homes,
Yep.
and it was awesome. I mean, it was exactly what I wanted to do. I mean, the pay wasn't necessarily what I wanted just because you're selling super cheap homes. But in terms of just reps and experience and getting in hundreds of foreclosed homes and just walking around with investors and walking around with contractors and just kind of getting their ideas and picking their brains and just really shadowing them essentially while I was showing them the homes and figuring out, you know, if this was a good deal or if they would see themselves buying this or flipping it or renting it. It was awesome. In retrospect, I couldn't have asked for anything better. Just like I said, in terms of just experience and putting in reps. And then, so I did that for a year and a half. And then I transitioned from bartending into like a full-time sales job. And like I said, with the outsourced HR, and I was even selling Xerox copiers before that. But I put my license in escrow, deactivated it for a couple years. And then back a few months ago now, I reactivated it and decided to just kind of tag team that along with my business adventure and yeah, and start getting back involved in that.
Cool. So yeah, all my Ohioans and yeah, you guys over there in Northeast Ohio. I don't does the West Side still count as Northeast Ohio?
Yeah.
Okay,
yeah.
cool.
Even though they are significantly different. I mean, it's like the East Side and West Side of Cleveland. If you ask anybody, they're completely two different geographics. but I mean, it is like it's all Northeast Ohio. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. So yeah, if you need any assistance, this is your guy. And so yeah, there's a lot, and I mean, now is a very powerful time to, in my opinion, just seek out opportunity and make massive gains in the direction you see the future of your life, because most people are stagnant or distracted by what's on TV and the news. And meanwhile, if you're investing that energy into yourself, into your business, and figuring out how can you set up a structure and strategy that's going to take you to the next level, like now is a great time to just be doing that.
Yeah.
So I want to know what are some lessons that you feel like you've learned already, maybe one or two, going from, I guess you could say paycheck or job to business owner. Like what have you learned?
Well, I think the biggest thing that I've always focused on is, I mean, there's two things there. One is getting comfortable with being uncomfortable. You know, I listen to Ed Milet and Grant Cardone a lot. These are big, high net worth entrepreneurs that, you know, are more transitioning into the education side of things now. And they just have tons of content that I listen to. But that seems to be a recurring theme when I'm listening to podcasts or books or just successful people is, you know, they say, get comfortable with being uncomfortable. Because when you step into that uncomfortability, I mean, that's when you grow, and you also start building confidence that way, and it just is a snowball effect. And then and kind of that ties into that is throwing yourself in the fire. That's been something that I, you know, over the past 5 or 6 years have just been trying to do every chance I get, whether it's a business opportunity, a new client, or a new job. I mean, you know, kind of just saying yes before you even have it all figured out, and then figuring it out at the end of the day. But throwing yourself in the fire is an incredible way to live your life. And once you start doing it, you get more comfortable with it, and you're like, all right, this isn't so bad. Or even what's the worst of it is, you know, it's not really that bad. I mean, I've been in sales forever, and you get told no. I mean, you might get told no 99 times out of 100 just to get that one yes, but it makes it all worth it. So it's kind of that, in that sense, conditioning yourself to be okay with being told no, and really, even when somebody does tell you no, they're not necessarily telling you no as a person because they don't like you or whatever. It's really just what you're talking about, you know, and it just gives you an opportunity to resharpen the knife and kind of figure out new ways to handle objections, and to where, you know, it strengthens you up to where maybe you do make that one big phone call or that one meeting that all those no's prepared you for this moment. And now you hit it out the park, and it's like, it's just, it's awesome. It's a great feeling. And like you're asking me to touch on kind of just the transition from full-time to diving all in on this. So for going on 6 or 7 months, I was working both jobs. I was working at a company called GMS on outsourced HR, and I would do that from 8 to 5 every day, talking to business owners, trying to get them at least a quote to see what our platform as a PEO would look like. And then after that, I'd drive up an hour to Painesville and clean for a few hours, and then drive an hour back home and get home around 9, 10 o'clock, sometimes midnights on certain nights when I had to do 2 accounts, and do it all over again. But that's kind of what I mean by throwing yourself in the fire. Like when my mother approached me with this, I was like, yeah, absolutely. Like, let's do it. I'll figure out how and when after the fact. And then, I didn't necessarily, I saw myself doing that for a little bit longer than 6 months, but really this pandemic happened and I kind of saw a window of opportunity. I had some money saved up, so I wasn't necessarily financially stressed at that point. And over the year and some change, I was working at GMS. I had talked to probably 80 business owners, closed a few deals, but really I just got surrounded by people that own companies that make big decisions every day, that are people that I wanted to be like. So in retrospect, that was an incredible experience for me. I got around high experienced salespeople as well, just within that company that have been doing it for a long time, that were just decorated like professional salespeople, which really inspired me as well. And then, I mean, I kind of just made a decision. I was like, I can spend the next 5 years building clients in my book of business for GMS, or I can try and go out there and spend the next 5 years or however long building my own book of business and just kind of being on the other side of that as an owner and seeing what I can see what I could do.
I love
So
it. And guys, I just want you to take a look at what James is doing. Maybe even just go back and re-listen to what he just said, because he's setting an example for what I think so many of us need to consider right now, especially those of us who are on the edge and feel like we need that extra push to just go all in. And I say that because you just hear the stories all the time of, like, I'm going to use Airbnb as an example, but I know there's 100 other companies that during the last crisis, the last recession, the last time when everyone thought the world was going to end, these amazing companies they came to be. I'm always like plugging blockchain and stuff too. And guys, I know even, like, I think Bitcoin came to be in 2008, and I think it hit $15,000 today. Now that's a whole other story. We won't go into the world of cryptocurrency here today, but like, there's all these amazing things that come out of times of chaos. And so being able to do what James just did now, I think, is positioning anyone who's in that realm to be successful if you're focused on the right targets. And what the
yeah.
right targets are, it's all kind of industry specific, but I'd say, listening to guys like Grant Cardone and Ed Milet, that's a great start. I would follow up on James saying that if you're thinking about doing it. So James, what are some of we're going to wrap it up here soon too, but as far as people who you're looking to do business with, who's your one or two ideal clients?
On the commercial cleaning side, really anybody that has a brick and mortar establishment. Like I said, retail stores, churches, gyms, dentist offices or doctor's offices. Um, People that are looking to not clean themselves. I mean, I know like cleaning kind of gets put to the wayside sometimes because it's an expense that, business owners aren't ready to swallow or they haven't budgeted for it. But I think this whole pandemic and cleanliness and hygiene has really kind of brought it to the forefront for a lot of these companies, saying like, this is just the cost of doing business and this is just how it is. I mean, but it also is an investment in your business. There is a ROI on it when it comes to just the happiness of your employees. I mean, who doesn't want to come into a clean establishment to go to work? It's just it's one of those things that kind of just helps them invest a little bit more in your company, for that standpoint. But also, I mean, your most important asset, which is your customers. For example, like I've had restaurant clients and but I was also bartending at the restaurant, so I got to see both sides of it. And I would hear people talk about how the bathrooms were really clean, or how certain stuff that they noticed was just clean, and it just made them feel that much better. And they're, it's little things like that that start adding up and snowball into them being a regular, So I think a lot of people don't necessarily think about it to that regard, but I think as we move forward, they will, and it's just going to be a cost of doing business, and it's going to be one of those things that if you don't have it, now you're a step behind. But yeah, anybody that has a brick and mortar, I think restaurants are a big deal right now just because of the volume of people coming in and out. And a lot of people, what I run into is they have their own employees that are doing the cleaning at the end of the day or whatever. And from a management and owner standpoint, I mean, just be realistic. They just worked 7-8 hours for you. Now they got to go clean. It's just not going to be as good as a job, so it might be worth at least having that conversation, and that's really all we ask for, is just an introduction or a conversation to kind of give you a quote and show you what it could look like. And if it makes sense, then cool. And if not, whatever. And it's low risk. I mean, it's month to month contract. So, if this month you love it, next month you don't, there's no, year long, you're stuck with it. I don't like to do that. So.
Yeah. And guys, you'll be able to get the kindergarten discount if you heard them, tell them that you heard them on Dream Chasers. So
yeah, and I'm giving out referrals. I mean, that's part of the business as well. I just always looking to build and strengthen the network, and then on the real estate side of it as well. If you're a first time home owner or a first time home buyer, or an investor, just somebody that really wants to get a better understanding of the market and some different options or opportunities out there, we'd love to talk with you about that. And a lot of people kind of look at home ownership as a big giant hurdle to get over, when really they have a ton of leverage because people want to work with them. Realtors want to show them houses, lenders want to show them pre-approvals, or if your credit's wrong, there's people that fix credit that want to work with you. So you kind of have them at your disposal in that sense, and they want to work for you. I mean, it's also free. It costs nothing to call a lender and get a pre-approval, or to have a realtor show you some properties. So that's something just to keep in mind too.
Yeah, absolutely. I love it. Well, that's two things there too. Now is a great time to buy a home, looking at interest rates. And then, I don't even know how I missed that until hearing you talk about your ideal customer and client. But now is just like with what you mentioned Chris doing with the masks, now is a perfect time to be going into cleaning. Holy crap. I mean, I'm really excited to watch the future of what you're doing, because I think it is perfect timing. So, all right, we're going to wrap things up here, James. Couple more things. The first one is, if you could give a shout out to one person you've never given a shout out to before, who would that be?
It'd be Grant Cardone for sure. Big time Xer. I've been following Grant Cardone for a couple of years now, probably a few years at this point. I've read his books, Sell or Be Sold and 10X. But he drops tons of content. He can be kind of controversial to some people in a sense, but he definitely has been invaluable to me. I mean, just the stuff that he talks about is all practical stuff too, that you can kind of put to work. So it definitely would be Grant Cardone. He's definitely the man, and he's a big real estate guy too, which is ultimately I want to start syndicating deals and stuff like that. And he definitely, he has like a billion and some change in properties under management. But he's definitely a sales guy for, to begin with, and now he's in real estate. But yeah, it'd be Grant Cardone.
Cool. And the stars are aligning here too, because the only other person on Dream Chasers who has given a shout out to Grant Cardone is my boss and mentor Hunter Thompson, who has also had Grant on his podcast, episode 50 of his podcast. So I'm going to challenge you to go check out episode 101 of Dream Chasers, James, and then also check out Hunter's interview with Grant. He said they didn't have the video version of it, but at some point in the video, Hunter asked him a question and Grant flicked him off. So he's like, that was like his Grant claim to fame or whatever.
Uh-huh.
Cool. Yeah, good stuff, guys. Last thing, James, if you could give one single best way for anyone to follow up and get in touch with you, what would that one way be?
It'd probably be on my social media. James Bowling like the sport, on Facebook, and my Instagram is James Bowling 007. So.
I love it. That's funny. I just had a call yesterday with someone who said that somebody who initially DM'd them on Instagram, he's in commercial in Nashville. It turned into like a $9 million deal. So like
Wow.
connecting on social media at once upon a time, it was kind of like for fun and for the kids, but that's where business is happening now, guys. So
Yeah, absolutely.
go connect with James. All right. Well, yep, that's all the time we have for today here on Dream Chasers. James, thanks so much for coming on. It's been a long time. This interview's been in the making since kindergarten, since those
Yeah.
cupcakes.
Thank
So,
you, man. Happy
yeah,
you got going on here.
absolutely. Yeah. Any other closing words?
No, just keep doing what you're doing, man. Maybe we can do another one of these in the future and see a little before and after progress.
I've had a few a joke because so Raquel Boris has been on my show a couple times, and she's like, "Oh, I'm your first repeat offender." So, guys, go check out Raquel. That's another shout out. She was on episode 94, I think. She's awesome. Anyways, yeah, maybe we'll do that in the future. Bring you back on and see how things are going. So,
Awesome.
all right, well, guys, thank you for tuning into Dream Chasers, interviews with the future, and we'll catch you in the next episode. Remember, in all you think, say, and do, take it to the next level.